On an unseasonably gorgeous winter day, things almost seem normal around the Capitol, but here we go again. The fence is back, bigger and more menacing than ever, as the Biden regime wages war against Americans who may want to exercise their constitutional rights. Constitutional lawyer Jonathan Alexander of Liberty Counsel calls it a flagrant violation.
It's a news story that shouldn't be news at all, right? The right to petition the government to have access to your leaders on Capitol Hill, something that's enshrined in our Constitution. The First Amendment makes it clear. But what Capitol Hill Police is doing, and in concert with Department of Homeland Security, is now walling off the Capitol and the Congress from access of everyday Americans. And they've done so under the guise of COVID-19 vaccines and COVID-19 restrictions over the past 2 years. And now they're increasing that for whatever reason that they deem now is appropriate, shutting down access of individuals to the Capitol not able to petition the government.
So just who are Biden and Pelosi so terrified of that they have to build a fence around the Capitol again? Well, it turns out it's you and me. I hold in my hand here a bulletin put out by the Department of Homeland Security. This is a terrorism advisory. Just went out on February 7th. Of course, you haven't heard about this in the mainstream media, but it says that the United States remains in a heightened threat environment fueled by several factors. It goes on to identify these factors. Number one bullet point is widespread online proliferation of false or misleading narratives regarding unsubstantiated widespread election fraud and COVID-19.
So if you're reading and doing research yourself and finding your own individual medical solution to stopping the spread, as it were, of COVID-19, you're now labeled by the Department of Homeland Security as being an individual that's promoting terroristic acts. Or if you're still raising the question of whether or not there was an honest election or whether or not we have integrity in our elections, you're considered as being a threat. And so that statement is just put out there, right? It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment, however, if they turn that into action. If they're making these categories and these accusations against everyday Americans, when that becomes actionable by law enforcement agencies, when it becomes actionable by Capitol Hill Police, and when they're stopping individuals from petitioning the government, stopping their access based on these labels that they're placing on individuals, then it's a compounding and continuing violation of fundamental Bill of Rights that all Americans hold.
Jonathan, how egregious is this?
Well, it's completely unprecedented. I mean, from the age 19 years old and even earlier, I was able to just waltz onto Capitol Hill with my parents. We'd do lobbying for different organizations, different issues that were concerning to us. And I'm sure parents and children all across the country have the experience of just coming on Capitol Hill, being able to petition your congressmen and women, not having to have a pre-scheduled appointment, not necessarily having your Facebook screened or having your social media torn into, just to be able to come on to Capitol Hill and to petition members of Congress. Even if you agreed with them or disagreed with them, the access of the people to Congress is fundamentally enshrined in the Americans' ability to engage with our powers. That's all being taken away. That hasn't been the case for the past 2 years, and going forward, whenever they think that it is deemed necessary for them to shut down access once again by putting up these fences, they'll find another reason to do so.
It feels as if we've been declared an enemy.
Oh, absolutely. And when it becomes, when it's placed on the Department of Homeland Security website, that's one thing. But it's when it's actionable. It's when Capitol Hill Police or the small bureau within Capitol Hill Police then turns that into an actionable marching orders where they're denying individuals access. That's when it becomes an issue. That's when they're actually depriving individuals of their right to petition the government. They're not just violating the Fourth Amendment in searching individuals' private social media accounts, but also making that actionable and depriving them of their First Amendment ability to petition the government.
And they're doing the same things with those who would want to run for Congress. Just if you have any objectionable views.
Right, absolutely. They're using this clause, I think, out of the 14th Amendment, I think it's Section 3 out of the 14th Amendment, and saying that individuals, if they've even mentioned that we do need to rework some of our state laws in terms of providing for a more honest or integral election, they're saying, well, you're engaged in sedition and you are now disallowed from even running for Congress, right? Depriving the individual access to Congress is one thing. Depriving the average everyday citizen to participate actively as a member of Congress is a whole nother thing. And it keeps going back to this fundamental thing that individuals on Congress in Congress, the Democratic leadership, they think that they're kings and that we are their subjects. And they've been operating like this for the past 2 years, thinking that they are absolutely in charge and in control of not only every area in our lives, but they're not giving us the access to then petition and then debate and engage them as our fundamental freedoms encourage and demand that we ought to have.
Are you prepared to go to court?
Well, absolutely. When these things become actionable, once again, it's not so much them having it on their website or the articles that they're putting out, but when they're actually depriving Americans of their fundamental freedoms to petition the government, it's a clear violation of First Amendment. Thankfully, we still have a judiciary that is strong on First Amendment issues, and so absolutely there are claims and controversies that we can bring up to court.